hello. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied voice, Justin, and Kiri, who does not want to settle down because David has smoked salmon in the other room. At least Kiri's motives for not settling are transparent. Hello, everybody. Yeah, sorry for the late start. Got a little bit delayed. Gonna have to run over a little bit. Reaper Standard Time. You know what I'm at, Zeke? I try every day. I make this like resolution, and then every day, like it seems like something happens to just shove. Because I'm pretty tight in the morning. I don't like. I need my full 8 hours of sleep to function, so I don't like it. I can't get up super early or anything like that. And it's like, yeah, I make this like thing, and then I get here, and I'm just like, oh wait, well we're not starting now. Oh, now we're 4 minutes late. Now we're 6 minutes late. It's just annoying. Yeah. Morning, everybody. Liquid Nebula, our newest Twitch mod on my channel. With the very, very light blue. I hate it when they give you the name in the really, really light blue and you just can't read it. Like, you have to go, what am I? You know, or who is that? Silly Twitch. They need to, like, blackline your text at that point, I think. Outline. So, hello, everybody. Yes. Hello. Some of you I haven't seen for a while. Hi, Stephen Phillip. Hey, Mo. It's good to see you all. So we're painting sphinxes. We're painting a monster. And let's see here. I think I'm just going to swap over and we can just chat. What's going on with y'all today? How's your week going? Let's see here. I'm going to mix up a couple colors. Get Sphinxy here. She still has so much light color on her that she's totally, like, it's hard to see the dark skin tones. Hey, Carrie Michael. Even you can't read it. Exactly. Hey, Val. How's it going? I hope you got your PDF. I hope you, are happy that I let you airbrush. I'm like, this is Val. He's got 16,000 airbrushes. I probably should let him airbrush the first stages of this coaching model. Oh, dear. I don't know, Shadow Raven. I had a pretty good day yesterday. Like, I shouldn't say that as it's daring the universe, probably, right? To make it not so. But here, hold on. I'm a little bit crooked. There I am. Now I'm not. Now I'm not crooked. I hate being crooked. But yes. So I'm in a pretty good mood because I feel like I'm getting caught up in my life this month. Like, I'm actually, like, not behind anywhere. When I get behind, I just feel with just stuff. Like, if there's just stuff pending that I haven't taken care of, that I know I have to make time for, I get so stressed about that. David's like, you have been stressed for 2 months. Stop it. Monday too. Yeah, right. It's Monday. Yep. No, Moonglooms. I never did the other Sphinx. I'm trying to remember the other Sphinx. I love this Sphinx, which is why I grabbed her. I do have a lot of metal models coming from Reaper for this stream. I just put in a big order of character models of various types and stuff. So we'll have a lot of characters coming in to paint for this stream. So I thought, while I was waiting for those to come, that it made sense to work on a monster. And this is the monster I'd had for a while, all prepped and ready, that I wanted to paint. So, yes. Yeah, Sphinxes are my favorite monsters. Here, where's my lemon yellow? There it is. Yeah, I've got it. You're readable! Yes, that's good. You have lots of red in the feed now, because it's Val, and it's Zeke, and it's Liquid Nebula. Three talky people, all red. It's going to be like angry stream day. Hey, Dogfather. Haven't seen you around that much. Glad you're here. Okay, let's see here. So, all right, I've got my Ruddy Flesh, which is very similar to Rich Leather, by the way. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit less greenish. On the palette. And the color that I tend to use to highlight dark skin is actually lemon yellow. And you can also use NMM Gold Highlight. It works really well. But the classic old 9009 lemon yellow is what I got in the habit of using. And I do really like it for building a highlight on top of this, because if she's out in the desert sun, you know, she is going to have a bright highlight on her skin, and with dark skin tones like this, they tend to go golden in the sun. Now, in the shadow, in shade, you'll see a lot of blue or purple almost with indirect lighting, and that's sky reflection during the day. And doing that only works if you're painting the entire model like that. So if you're doing a very, very blue-black skin tone, like really, really blue-black, then you could go with something like Ghost White instead, or what am I thinking? Blue Flame, if you had it from the HD. Let me just thin this down a bit. Just something a little blue, you could do that. Although it still might look a little funny. Blue light is usually just an evening or an ambient thing or a reflected light thing. It doesn't tend to read outdoors daytime. So, oh, that makes sense. Hey, Mini Dungeon Master, rose gold paint. We made that, Mini Dungeon Master. We made it, and I think it's still in the store. Like, I'm pretty sure that rose gold is still in the store, right? Or is that one of the ones that Ed said wasn't coming back? That may have been canceled, because recently Reaper CEO passed on some cancellations in the paint line, and I think that one and Sophie Champagne both were on that list as a special occasion paint that is no longer available. Twisted on my. Now we're getting. I need more blue. Oh, is rose gold a permanent color now? There we go. Quindy gave you the link, Mini Dungeon Master. You have an actual rose gold paint because, well, Sadie and I made it before I left Reaper. People had asked about it, and I'm like, you know, I bet we could do this. So what this yellow mixture lets you do, and you can see it up here on the top of my screen, is it lets you bring out those details. Here, let me get in focus. I just realized I'm unfocused. And then I'll get my hand out of the picture so that everything stops shifting blue. So this lets you bring out those details a little bit extra. And you're only putting this color as just a touch on these areas. You don't want a lot of it. And I'm going to keep a bunch of my ruddy flesh around here so that I can kind of blend it in a little bit. I do want this highlight under the eye to be more rounded because her cheek is rounded. Whenever you have a surface that you're highlighting, ask yourself what the shape of the surface is. And that's the shape that your highlights should be in. So when you have a rounded area, you shouldn't just have a line highlighting it. You should have kind of a rounded highlight here as the cheek drops down. But your special instructions, you never know. It depends on how busy they are. Nomad Zeke, I speak from experience. If they are terrifically crammed, they may or may not have time to follow any special notes you do. They do like seeing notes. Like, there was somebody who was asking people to draw stuff for a while. Like, they wanted a kobold, or they wanted a pirate, or they wanted a succubus. And that was kind of fun. I know that some of our pickers had fun with that. But I don't know who's still there and who the new people are anymore, so I'm not sure. All right, so you can see how, with that one highlight under the eye, see how it brings out her features. So that's what we're going to use this lemon yellow mixed with ruddy flesh for. This light gold color. It's going to be trying to pick out the light areas where the sun is going to fall, and it's also going to be just used in small touches to pick out details. So here around her eye, I'm going to use it out toward the outer part of the brow here, just a touch. And what that's going to do, actually, I need to get my black out because I want to give her real eyebrows. Do we know what her hair color is, guys? Because I was maybe thinking black with blue highlights, but because I'm going to put some blue, obviously, in her jewelry. That part over her chest is a little bit mucky. I might have to actually use some green stuff to clean that up. This part's a bit mucky. We'll see what we can do. Might be able to paint over it, but I was thinking dark hair. Because dark hair lets me go very dark essentially black hair lets me go black with her eyebrows, and it's almost the only thing that's going to look right. against these dark skin tones. I mean, you could maybe go with that rusty red color, but I don't know. That doesn't really fit with my color scheme in my head. Hello, Dalker. Thank you for the sub. Ooh, 2 months. We've entertained you for 2 months. I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for the sub. We really appreciate it. So Friday, guys, this week, Friday, is our AMA and giveaway. So I'm going to start promoting that now. That's what our subs lead up to. Every 100 subs, we do an AMA and giveaway, and we just hit our goal last week. We hit it like Wednesday or Thursday, and we didn't have time to really coordinate and find out if our prize support was there. And Justin has to check on an item that I wanted to give away. Did you check on that item? Did you hear back, Justin?
I actually did. I didn't hear back. I'm sorry. I sent him the email, and he has not responded yet.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah. We need to find out. We cannot have an AMA and giveaway without a giveaway, so I will try to. Maybe I'll try to poke him with an email. If you oh, sorry, there's no links. We don't allow linking. Do I come here? My apologies. Alright, so I'm just going to bring in some pure black. Kind of emphasize that her brows are black and to get the shape a bit crisper. We're also going to do black eyeliner around her eyes, leave a black rim, so very Egyptian. And the other thing that lightening up this cheek will let us do is to do the little Eye of Horus symbol right under one eye and have it actually show up. All I did was paint what was there. Twisted Oma. It's the contrast between the light and the darks that brings out the musculature. And in reality, this was super fast on this side, so I need to blend it in a bit. Needs to be more of a transition. I mean, she's fairly muscular on this side too, though. This is definitely a Sphinx who still hunts. Let's just say that. She's in shape. She's definitely in shape. Get her other eyebrow done. Hey, Koofs, how's it going? But yeah, I like muscles on girls, so this Sphinx has muscles. She's not just some sedentary Sphinx who sits around and just eats, people who are all passive after they fail her riddle test. She's used to encountering adventurers, and, you got to get up pretty early in the morning if you're going to take down those silly paladins and things that think they can outsmart you at your riddle game. And then fail, and then try to cheat, because, they're adventurers. If they fail, they're going to try to cheat. That's what this Sphinx thinks. I think she's pretty much right, too. Paladins don't like to be wrong. This is also where we can give her expression, right? So, like, as I've bringing the brows down toward the inner corner of the eyes, she's going to look more angry, like, who's disturbing me? If I really want her to look more startled, then I need to walk back these eyebrows. This is where eyebrows can really control the expression of the model, guys. If you're trying to do more expressive faces in 28mm, you can utilize this as well. It doesn't have to be a big model. But if I walk back this eyebrow a bit and make it more higher up on her face, let's see here. Let's get close. Let's get in focus really close. And then I'll pull my hand out of here and we'll maybe be able to see. So essentially, when I take that eyebrow and I walk it back like I just did, it's going to be more like an alert look. And if I have this side, I've got the brow going closer down toward the inner eye and toward her nose. So that's more of an angry or unhappy look. Actually, she looks a little skeptical here. She looks like she's maybe raising one eyebrow and lowering the other. I kind of like that. Maybe I'll keep it. Kind of like the skeptical Sphinx. So you think you're going to beat me at my game? I think not. Or what is this thing that has disturbed me from my nap? So let's raise this eyebrow a little bit. Since the brows aren't sculpted on, we have some freedom to expand this area above her eye and make it look like she is actually raising an eyebrow. We can thin down the brow, and then we can narrow, we can bring this brow down a bit, and it'll look like she's arching an eyebrow. See, it almost has that look already. Yeah, lemon yellow, I mean, never underestimate lemon yellow for highlighting golden browns. It really makes a pretty honey color. Can you, see that color? It's just a nice, simple color. It's also great for highlighting greens, guys. Lemon yellow, 9009. When you have a green like Naga or Cat's Eye or any of those, if you want to highlight for it, drop a lemon yellow into it. It's perfect. It's a very uncomplicated color. It only has 2 pigments in it, so it's not going to interact or react with a lot of other things. I'm going to try to get this eyebrow a little bit lower here on this eye. You kind of, it's funny, right? You don't want to go, hey, Kiri, can you settle down? There is definitely a risk of Kiri emergency today, guys, so we'll see. Okay, so you have to keep the eyebrow close to the brow ridge. You can't go too far off of that or it's going to look wrong. It's kind of like those women who have penciled their eyebrows in a shape that's not matching their brow ridge and it looks wonky. When you really look at them, like, it could pass when you're just kind of walking by them in the hall. But then when you really look at their face, you're like, all right, so your eyebrows are completely artificial and your brows totally do a different thing. I don't know. I just was never into that, I guess. Resculpting my face with makeup, which is funny because I love doing paint plastic surgery on miniatures. So, okay, so one brow is raised and the other brow is more serious, although we can't see it yet because we need to highlight and reshape it. So whenever you're doing a dark thing like this, and you want to introduce dark details like the eyebrows, and you want them to stand out, you have to utilize your highlight color here and kind of artificially highlight around that brow so that you can bring it out. So I'm going to bring up, there would be highlights on her forehead anyway, so I'm just going to sneak in with my highlight and kind of make sure that I highlight next to the shape of that brow so that it can come out and you can see it, right? The expression has to read. It's a little easier to do it on a skin tone that's not so dark. But the upper part of her face should get a bit more light. No, you cannot Polish art. Canary yellow actually does not have any white in it. Canary is far more bright, and it's not going to give you a natural highlight like this. Lemon is a mix of a particular yellow pigment and white, and it's in a particular ratio. It's you have to have the white. You could use canary maybe with a bit of white, but then you're adding 2 colors instead of 1. And usually when people start paint mixing, I recommend that they start as simple. When you want to mix colors, you want to do it as simple as possible. You want to use as few colors as you can, because that makes it much easier for you to reproduce it if you like it. When you start adding, I mean, there have been plenty of times that I've added a drop of white and a drop of another color to build a highlight, but it's much better if I can just reach for something like lemon yellow and go, oh, all right, we got it. There we go. There we go. There's the skeptical Sphinx look. Yay, skeptical Sphinx. But sun yellow has a mixture of different pigments to it, Hyper Bunny, including some red. Is going to give you a different effect. It's not going to be as clean necessarily. It's going to go orangey. Probably a little bit more orangey than this does. There's a reason I say I use this color to the exclusion of other colors. I mean, you can do what you like. Probably, though, the best one to use if you guys are really looking for a sub would be clear yellow with a little bit of white. Clear yellow still has a lot more yellow in it than lemon, so you do need to use it in conjunction with white. But it is the thing that's going to get you the closest to this color. When it comes to mixing colors, it really is important what you use, is what it comes down to. I mean, all of our colors, remember, are quite different from each other. I try very hard to make sure that there are definite differences between them. And that includes the yellows, although sometimes it may look like they're close. But lemon yellow has always been a kind of an underappreciated color as far as I'm concerned, so I do try to raise awareness of it. Because if there's another round of cancellations, you never know. And so I'm trying to guard my most useful colors. Got a little bit of a hair on her face, so I just used a damp brush to kind of wick it off, hopefully. Let's see here. So she's getting a pretty good expression. I do need to bring in highlights on the other side of her face. I need to decide where else I'm going to use this beautiful honey color. So, all right. I want to go under the eye. I just am putting almost just a little bit of an edge under it. And on a 28mm model, guys, this is all you need to do. Now, what I just said earlier about not just doing a line highlight, doing a rounded highlight, this is true, but on a 28mm model where you have very, very little room, you can get away with that line highlight. Whatever your highest color is, whatever your brightest highlight on the skin is, you can get away with that in a line right under the eye. It definitely helps to bring out the eye more as long as you're doing... The reason is that if you're doing what I do and you're filling in the socket of the eye with a dark color first, then you're making contrast, right? You're putting a line of light color right up against that dark eye before we fill it in. So there we go. We're getting there. I need to bring down some highlight. And once again, I'm trying to shrink every highlight layer. So I'm not trying to just go over what I've done before. I'm trying to make my layers smaller. So here, the highlight usually comes up right to the corner of the eye. Then it goes down around the nose. So I'm making that very narrow highlight so you can see it. The highlight goes here, and then it goes down around the nose. And we leave a little shadow around the outside of this nostril so that the nose stays defined. Now I'm going to take this really light color, and I'm going to trace along the upper lip right up against her dark lipstick. Or dark lip color, depending on if she's a Sphinx who does wear some makeup. She definitely has very conservative opinions about eyebrows, I'll tell you that. And I just really want a line of highlight. Again, against the dark lips, putting a line of highlight helps to bring that shape out. Yeah, it's also great mixed into oranges. Good point, M. Fontana. Although sun yellow would be equally as good mixed into oranges, probably. But, I don't know. Like I said, you don't have to have it. If I bring up a color in this chat, it's not like any of these colors are like must-haves. Especially if you have the clear brights, you can always mix something. But, I'm just saying, lemon yellow is really useful for this. And nothing else that you mix with this skin color is going to give you that honey color. Like, it's all going to be, anything else that you mix in there is going to be orangier, or it's going to be really bright. It's really the balance of that one yellow pigment with the white and the lemon yellow that makes it a great highlighter. And like I said, if you're going to mix it, if you are a mixer, then clear yellow is your color that you want. Clear yellow plus white will get you close. So I got this line on the upper lip, but it actually got a little strong. So I'm going back in. I want to keep that shadow under the nose, though. She also has kind of a wonky upper lip because she is, a cat person. So I'm kind of fighting with the shape of the face to try to bring out the shape of that upper lip. You can see it. Got that Cupid's bow shape. While at the same time not leaving unsightly lines or weirdness. Now, the nice thing is that this Ruddy Flesh is actually pretty transparent, so it's actually a good layering color, and it makes it a little bit easier to get this stuff to work together. All right. And like I said, she has like kind of these little pouchy things around her face, which you could easily turn into a muzzle. You can kind of see it with the shadow here. So you could paint her as much more of a cat face and less of a human. I'm just choosing to paint her more humanoid. I do need some ebony flesh, though. I do need to remix up my base, skin base at this point. I want to make sure that I'm not losing all of my dark skin tone. Although the fact that we started, notice that this fact that we started dark, that we started with this really close to black skin tone, means that even though we're bringing our skin color up to this point, nonetheless, it is still reading as very dark skin. It has a depth and a richness to it, and that's what we want. So your base coat absolutely matters. It matters here in all skin tones. It matters very much in red and yellow. I find it matters immensely in red, what you start with. What color of red you eventually end up with. Like, I can't think of a color off the top of my head where it matters more than in red. Yep. You got it, Kroniko. Exactly. That's why I try to promote whenever there's a color that I see you guys don't necessarily use a lot, that I know has a really high utility in a particular way, like this color. Like, this isn't the only time I would use lemon yellow, guys. I would use this even for lighter skin tones, although I might have to add some white along with it. If you're trying to get a daytime look, you have maybe a more yellow highlight, yellow-white highlight, using this is a good call. The other color that is very useful for that on skin tones is Golden Glow. It's a different yellow pigment. It's a little bit warmer. I don't necessarily use that one as much if I'm highlighting skin tones and I want that particular look. All right, so I'm going to thin down our base color because I want to be able to layer it as I need it. If I've gone too light with areas, I want my base color to be around so that I can correct. I do like our skeptical Sphinx. I think she's pretty awesome. Now, if at any point I decided I really want to bring the highlights up on her skin tone, I could be very, very daring and take some of this and mix it with white. Do that in very small touches to define small areas, and then maybe glaze with this to bring it back down. You don't want to go too white unless you're doing somebody who's like sweating or exerting themselves and you're trying to get that feel. But then you'd better be doing it in very specific places. Gonna get her little nostrils. Want those to come out. For 28mm figures, doing the nostrils if you can is actually pretty important, because so many times the noses on 28mm figures are just kind of like there. They're not really, like, it can be hard to suggest a realistic nose at that scale. So making sure you do the shadow under the nose and do the little nostrils. Like, you can block in essentially the whole nose with a shadow color, like I have, because when you look at a human face, you do get the shadow down the side of the nose, right? So you got to keep that shadow there for a face to look realistic and for all the details to come out. You can see it there. So I kept that. That's actually painted on shadow on the sides of her nose. Everything you do on a 28mm face should serve to bring out the features of that face, because the face is arguably the most important part of a model. It is the place our eyes go first. There have been many studies on this, but the places our eyes tend to go first or second are, if there is a human face, that is what we look at first, or human-ish faced in the case of this lovely Sphinx. So that argues that even though the face is terrifying for a lot of new painters, it should be the place that you put your effort. And it's not like hard to kind of learn the places that you should be putting your effort. And it will be a bit difficult, but it's also going to help you to build the brush control you need to work on these little details. And even if your brush control isn't dead on, learning where your highlights should go can help your face look better even before you have, the ability to do really good eyes. Hey there, Planer. Yeah, Polaris. I mean, you want to essentially highlight a natural looking face, and then you want to add color to it, just like us girls do in the morning, right? So, and in fact, I'm going to do that because I am going to do a black outline around her eyes, right? And I'm probably going to add some reddish color to her lips once I get down to there. Yeah, you want it to, you should probably study how women do eyes too. The thing is that when we do eyeshadow, which is, not really in fashion these days, but when it happens, you want to keep it darker toward the middle and lighter toward the outer edge. And if you look at women's makeup, you'll usually see this. And if they don't do it, it tends to look more garish or carnival or clown. So, doing it that way. Makeup can look very garish and unnatural on a model. So, definitely make sure that if you're going to put makeup on a model, make sure your character is the type to wear it. Little Miss Sphinx here wouldn't be caught dead in eyeshadow. She'd much rather do her nice kohl-lined eyes, just the Egyptian tradition there. But most of the time when you are doing like a female model, the things you're usually going to deal with are lip color and blush. And you have the choice of either going natural color with that, which is mixing your skin tone into your blush color and your lip color. And that gives you a much more natural look where it's not makeup, or you go unnatural with it. And that can be very dicey because even with us, like with us real females, it can be hard to, when you start out with makeup as a kid or teenager, wherever you did, it's really hard not to look like a clown. So less is more. I am always of the less is more school with makeup. Most of us who actually enjoy using makeup and, you know, do it well, do it very subtly. So you got to remember that if you're going to do it on a miniature. Let's see here. Val, when I have to cover a big dragon wings fast, I go for a big flat like this. This is probably a number 4 or number 2 or a number 3, whatever. But I like a flat because usually if it's big surfaces, it's going to be relatively flat surfaces. And so it makes sense to go for a flat. A round is going to like get stuck in crevices and is not going to cover as broad of an area with as broad of a brush stroke. So I tend to like a flat. That's why I keep this synthetic flat around. This is an old Reaper number 4 flat. Actually, you can kind of see the stamp on the barrel. I don't know. She's got hands enough that she might be able to do her own. Or maybe she's got a relationship with a handy, you know, a person nearby, a hermit or hermitess, you know, maybe an old holy woman who's just like, oh, sure. You don't eat me and I'll do your makeup every day. Or maybe, you know, maybe she's the kind of Sphinx who's like, I've been wearing this makeup for 3 days. I can work with this. All right, let's see here now. We got to get some additional highlights, which are key. So first I want to line that lower lip. I want to pay attention. You can see, by the way, you know, we haven't touched the chin with any new highlights, and you can see how it totally disappears when you look at this upper face. So, yeah, right. 1970s blue eyeshadow, just don't do it. Just don't. Right, exactly, Chibi. It's still perfect, yes. And don't insult her makeup. Right. Exactly, right, Twisted Oma? It's like, but you know, what we all make that you always run into that problem where it's like, it's easy to go too garish. It's really easy, especially when you're doing unnatural colors like purples and blues. And I always liked kind of a rose color or purple color, but it had to be real subtle with it. So when you translate that, it's hard that's why it's like, I almost don't want to do makeup on a 28mm because it's real hard to be subtle on a 28mm. For it to show up, you almost have to punch it up. So it's hard. You really, what it comes down to though, is you better be putting it on a mini where it makes sense. I do mascara because otherwise you guys can see how pale my hair is, and especially now that I'm getting the silver in it. You know, my eyebrows are really, really pale, but my eyelashes just make my eyes disappear if I don't do a little bit of mascara. So yeah, it's mascara, and if David and I are going to a nice restaurant, then I do a little bit of colored lip gloss or lipstick. Yeah, no, you wanna get a flat for her, Val, and you wanna cover that area. I mean, you should really, okay. Flats are only for base coat. When you're doing layering, I would stick to your big, you know, maybe if you've got this big Raphael, it's hard. That model is so big that I almost might airbrush on your first layer of highlight and then just get close in with a smaller brush. But don't try to blend or layer with a flat. It won't work. The brush shape is all wrong. Or I guess, you know, there is a world where it would work, but you would have to wet blend with it. And even then, it probably would be imprecise. So I think you already have a base coat on that model, don't you? So unless you're doing the wings, you should be okay. It's just, she's a big mini. It's going to take a long time. There's a reason that my Soldier 76 statue, which is a foot tall, took me 140 hours. And not all of it. I mean, the leather texture was a lot of it, but it's also just a big model. It takes a while. Right, yes. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true, Karuniko. With the mask thing, yes, all you've got left are eyes, right? So I could see where people started dressing up their eyes. That makes sense. So yeah, so crazy eyeshadow is back in the game. Is that what you're telling me? I should go out and get some? I haven't owned eyeshadow for like 20 years, guys. Oh boy. But then again, I don't have to look good for anybody except David, so. And you guys. But I don't need to like super dress up for you guys. You guys are good with a wash and wear Anne in general. Let's see here. I want a little bit more highlight toward the center of her forehead, because there's a lot of light that typically gathers there. You usually leave a shadow right between the eyes because you've got that divot where the forehead kind of goes a little bit convex and then the nose comes out. She doesn't have as much, so we can kind of paint plastic surgery suggest it by doing the brighter light on the forehead and then stopping it at about the right place. So that's going to brings her forehead really into view. And at that point, we can take a little bit of this extra highlight. She's actually got a really good face to show you guys all this stuff, about expression and stuff. So I can outline just a little bit this raised eyebrow, make it a little bit more evident. And this is a little bit, the sculpt is interesting because I can see that maybe she has another, like she has an eyelid there that maybe, but I don't see it on this side. So I feel like maybe the bones mold just got a little bit compressed there and we lost a tiny bit of that detail because I'm seeing an eyelid right here. But I'm going to do that in black anyway. So I think I'm just going to do all of that and not worry about highlighting it with skin tone. Yeah, cheap stuff does not blend well. With makeup, you get what you pay for. Agreed. Well, it's not a double eyelid, Polis. It's Polaris. It's actually supposed to be, here's her eyelid and here's the area under the brow. You know, this area on me. So we definitely have an eyelid and an upper part of the eye under the brow. But the whole thing isn't necessarily there. So I think what I'm going to do is take my pure black and block in where I can see that, and then make sure that I've got a nice heavy black line around this eye as well. Because remember, we're going to do coal lined, traditional Egyptian makeup. And I probably want to do the same thing around her lips. So essentially, we're even going to make her eyes even bigger because that was the whole point of the Egyptian eye, right? Windows to the soul and all that. They made them huge with makeup. Made your eyes look a lot larger. And put a lot of emphasis on them. So we're going to outline in black, heavy black. Sadie is the hair expert and makeup expert. Sadie's both, because she was a cosmetologist. Still is a licensed one, I believe. All right, we're going to elaborate on this eye next. I got a little bit too much paint on my brush. Want to make sure I take that down when we're doing details like this. But yeah, this is a good face to be talking about expressions and where you highlight and all this kind of thing. So I thought I would spend some extra time on this today. So gonna heavily outline. Want to make sure the eyes are roughly the same size. So kind of look at them, figure it out. Yeah, she went to college for it. I mean, you have to go to college to become licensed in Texas. I don't know about other areas of the country. Yeah, we're doing faces today, Achilles. But yeah, Sadie would definitely, like, Sadie should paint this model. You should tell her, you should ask Sadie to paint the Julie Guthrie Sphinx and paint it, you know, with makeup like she would like to do. Use it as a makeup model. Sadie could really probably show you how to do some stuff. Although I don't know, a lot of her tools would not be fine enough for something like this. She'd have to just use her knowledge base and try to apply it to paint. Could be fun for her though. Oh yeah, Sky Daddy is the pro. Now that she's starting to paint miniatures, Nomad Zeke, she'll be a pro, knocking it out of the park with miniatures makeup in no time. I just want to re-emphasize this. Now that I've lined her eyes, I want more light here. Don't want to lose it because it's quite light on this side. And I didn't go as broad with the highlights on this side. So now I have to look at it and decide which one I like better. I think really I do need a little more light here. I'm going to grab a little bit of my Ruddy Flesh and my highlight honey color and lose this line I've got. This also will make her face more human, because remember, she's got these kind of little pouchy things here that you could paint like a kitty face, you know, with colors. Like you could make the area around her mouth lighter and make her look like more like a cat. But if you minimize that, she's going to look more humanish. And if you embrace that, she's going to look more feline. So she has a very versatile face. And you just have to ask yourself what you're going to do. But the other thing is, I usually talk about this, the more you emphasize this line around the mouth or the lines that come down from the nose, the more you tend to make the face look older too. So it depends on how old you want your Sphinxie to look. Though she's got a pretty youthful face. I hope Bob and Julie get the heads up that I'm painting Julie's Sphinx, because Julie always likes to pop in and see what I'm painting one of her minis. All right, so we got that. We've made a light there. That's good. And now I got to go down and outline that lower lip first in black, I think. Yeah, she started working on it, and people asked if she was going to stream it, Chibi. But she said she wanted to get better before she started streaming it, which I totally get, right? People like to see people who are good work on things, right? And I imagine that Sky, she's so good at body painting. She's used to being an artist at the top of her game. She won't want to just go on and do a fail show, right? She's going to want to do it when she feels like she's getting better at it. And I would expect if she did stream it, that she would just do a special stream and just tell everybody she was going to do it and give it a try. But yeah, when she was on there, I remember she said she wants to get better before she tries to stream miniature painting. All right, so I went in and put a heavy shadow under that lower lip. Yeah, when you get, I mean, it'd be like me taking up watercolor again and wanting to stream it right away, right? I'm gonna look like a 5-year-old at first. I don't necessarily, nobody really will find that entertaining after the first 5 minutes. So, you know, when you're used to being an artist at the top of your game in one field, publicly, you know, doing stuff, you want to make sure you've got at least a decent amount of skill before you go public with another art form. Being good in one art form does tend to give you a leg up on the ladder of getting good at another art form. So I'm bringing in her chin now. It's a Julie Sphinx, Mighty Jabberwock. That's what I was just saying, is like, I hope somebody lets Julie know I'm painting her Sphinx so that she can stop in. I like it when green users stops in. All right, so one of the very realistic places that you need to put a highlight on mouths, guys, if you look at me, you can even see it. But there is a little pocket of highlight right here, right at the corner of the lower lip. And so if you if you have the brush control, putting that pocket of highlight there can really add, one, it helps to define the lip, and two, it really looks realistic, because it's where there's a muscle group here that helps with your expression. So if you can get that little highlight there and blend it in. Her mouth is interesting, so let's see what I can do. I probably went a little light with it at first. Let me see what I can do. I'm going to glaze. But there, at little touches along that lower lip, and what it can help do is it can help define the shape of the mouth. So it's hard to show it here on this very dark face. But if I have those light areas right up against this black line that I'm putting around her lower lip, to define it, those light areas then serve as contrast to help you see the shape of the mouth. So right now they're way too strong, so I need to minimize them, and a little bit wrong shaped. So I can go back with my, I'm going to add a little water. Now that we've been going for about an hour, I had to add a little water to my mix. with my climate, and that should give you guys kind of a clue. Like right now, I'm actually not working with full paint puddles. They're actually a little bit small, but I still can go 45 minutes with my paint the right consistency before I feel like I have to add water. Now, in a more arid climate, that may go faster, but it's not going to go like in 5 minutes, right? So people who ask about painting in arid climates and whether a well palette will work, if it's not working for you, make deeper paint puddles or add water sooner. This is where getting an awareness of how often you add water to your paint can help you. Because if you're more aware of it, if you're like, okay, it's been 15 minutes or it's been 20 minutes, I'm in an arid climate, I'm going to add a little bit more water to my paint now, right? And then you get into the habit of that. And then you get to the point where you recognize just from the feel of the paint when you should be adding water. So little tiny, I probably made those little indents a little bit strong. So let me see. They're starting to look right now though. Like now those little indent, that little muscle indent there, that's looking better. So I'm going to keep working on it because I think it's actually sculpted in and I can blend it in a little bit more there. Make it work into the jawline, which I'll bring up a little bit just on the edge, just to make everything work together. And again, the jawline's nice to hit so that you can get a little bit of definition there. What you want to do at some point is look at the model from the side and make sure that you've got some variance here. You want this jawline, you want, the mandible, there's usually a band of muscle here. You want some space here to be highlighted. You don't want this entire thing to be shadow. You want it to be visually interesting. So you want to make sure you can see the roundness of this cheekbone, that you can see this shadow. If you're doing blush, you kind of do it in this area, right under the cheekbone. You should never do a blush color up here right next to the eye. All right, see now where that little highlight there right next to the lip helps to see the shape of her mouth. Makes her look a little poutier. Yeah, that's one of the highlights that a lot of people don't talk about with their highlighting faces, but it's so important to get the right shape of the mouth. Because that's, you can even see it. If you go look at your face in the mirror, you're probably going to see it. Unless you're super young, then you might not see it as much. But you can see that little tiny muscle group, this little tiny muscle group right here. And that, let's see if I can get it to show on my face. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it right there. It's that little muscle group. Yep, right there. So it's a little detail that when you learn the anatomy of the face, you can emphasize and get much more realistic. It really helps with the mouth, like especially on women where you're looking for that shape of the mouth. So let me just accentuate that a tiny bit more. Get over here on the other side, get her jaw. Maybe blend that in a little bit. I don't want too dark of a shadow under it. That's one thing. I want it to blend in a little bit. That's looking much better. Much better. So see how those little touches, you don't want them too broad, but they help define that lower lip now. Now you can see the shape of that lower lip, right? So that's why those little muscles are important. So now that I've got them kind of placed right, and sometimes you have to do what I just did. Put them in, say, oh, that's too bold, and muck with them a little bit to make them work. But in general, they're kind of a rounded oval shape. So, and then I'm going to bring up the highlight right on the tip of her chin, because that's another thing that's defining the shape of that mouth. You do want that shadow. See this this arching shadow underneath the mouth? Like you do want that because that's the shadow underneath that lower lip. And you're going to get that. I might be a little strong on that. I'm actually going to come in. There we go. There, now you can really see her face. Look at that. So that's starting to come up really pretty. That's really starting to look good. All right, I'm happy. I'm good. Let's see here. This could be a little bit... She is frowny a little bit on this side. So having that little bit of pouty lower lip, which is what we're getting with this harsh shadow. The fact that this shadow goes over so much is giving us a poutier look. So it helps, guys. I mean, there's actually a really good book out there on facial expressions. If you study this stuff a little, or just make faces at yourself in the mirror if you really want to. But it helps to kind of know these things, right? Like if I put a heavier shadow underneath the lip, it's going to make her look a little poutier, like she's sticking out the lip a little bit, right? Those little touches make a big difference, and they're little touches that you can do even on a 28mm model. Although depending on how well the mouth is or isn't sculpted, you may find it more limiting. It'll depend on the sculpt. This model has a very, she's very large, she's a monster, so it's easier to do this sort of thing on pieces like the Frost Giant Queen and the Sphinx, where you've got a lot of room to work. So it's much easier to suggest things like that. You have the room to do it. It's a lot harder to do it on a very small figure. All right, so I got that chin more or less brought up. Now we can see the whole face. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach for Succubus Kiss, I think, for that lower lip. Where is it? Might be in my... Yeah, it's in my Bones colors. Where is our Succubus Kiss? We need our Succubus Kiss. It's a wonderful lip color. There. Now, it's very dark, you think, but we're going to put it over some underpainting because we want it to stand out. So we're going to get some white. Get some white on this picture. Yeah, no problem, Board Gamery. We'll be doing a lot of characters coming up on this stream. We're also going to be doing a lot of characters coming up on my D&D stream, obviously. So we'll be talking a lot about expression and how to alter a face to bring out the character of the model, right? So that's one thing I really want to do, especially for the D&D stream on my own channel, is talk a lot about that. Because as we create these characters, we're going to get a real sense of, are they sulky? Are they, here, actually, you know what? I'm going to get close. I'm going to put her down like a little bit lower so I can paint her a little more comfortably, but you guys can still see all the details. There we go. That's better. So yeah, she's really coming out. We haven't even added the eyes. Like, she looks lovely. I'm very happy so far. Yeah, Larpstrong, it really does look like it's working. We tried, yesterday went great, and when I looked at my stats from OBS, everything looked wonderful. So maybe it was just the construction. Like, we live, my guy and I live really close to, like, Town Hall here in Mountain View, and they were doing a lot of construction over the last couple weeks, so maybe it was just somebody hit a line or something, and it just jiggled it. Thursday afternoon, yes, and I'm thinking about if we can hit a sub goal, I'll consider adding it to Tuesday instead. Because although I like painting my commissions on stream, which is what I've been doing on my Tuesday, Wednesday, it seems like a lot of people really like the D&D stream. So we may change it. We may decide to do more D&D and less of Ann painting commission and competition. Because lately, I'll tell you, I haven't had a lot of time to work on my competition game because I've got all these commissions to finish, and that's not gonna change. Like, it's gonna be all the end of the year. So I thought about doing Tuesday, Thursday, but right now it is Thursday. We'll see. I wanted to test it and see if we kept getting more views. But it seems very popular, and I'm very much looking forward to this week. This week, guys, we get to figure out who are the top 3 power players on our town council, i.e. our group of the trading company. Like, who's running the city. We get to figure out our top 3 power players. We get to talk about our timeline. So, like, what is our calendar based on? Is it lunar or solar or what? Or something different? And we also get to talk about, there's one more thing I wanted to cover. But all those things are going to be super fun to make up. So I can't wait for Thursday. I'm planning now. So, and this time I'll be smart. I actually am thinking about maybe doing a little 2D art on stream while we talk about this. Yeah, it would be great if you could make some Time Dragon Eye. That's kind of what I was thinking. If the D&D stream, and of course it has to be powered by subscriptions, right, guys? Because I have to keep an eye on my bottom line. When I'm doing commissions on stream, it's not as exciting, but at least I know that I'm making the additional money. Like, the money I'm making from the commission can be factored into, the money I'm making from the stream. But if I go all D&D, then we have to make D&D pay. D&D must pay. So we have to work on our audience, and I'll be probably setting a little sub goal, and if our sub goal gets hit, then I'll add that extra day. We'll go Tuesday, Thursday, and that will hopefully help some of you tune in, because if you can't make it one day, you might be able to make it on the other day. But yeah, it's going to be fun. This week is fun, and I'm getting more and more stuff. I started writing about the gods. The stuff that we figured out last week was the Pantheon. So I started writing about those on our World Amble. And I think it was Pendrake who realized that you can follow somebody's world. Like, you can become a follower of their world, and essentially then you'll get notifications when they put out a new article and stuff. And to do that, you need to make your own world, but a base account on World Anvil is free. So you can essentially make an account, and then you can create your own little world, even if it doesn't really exist. You can just put up something funny, like Cat World, and put a picture of your cat. It's kind of cheaty, but then you can follow another thing. And I have settings for RSS feeds and all this kind of thing on World Anvil. It's crazy how much they let you do. So yeah, we're working on that. I'm slowly trying to learn their interface. It is a little overwhelming. It's actually, Mighty Jabberwock, this is a cooperative stream game. It is not just 4 or 5 players. We are making up 4 or 5 or 6 characters to start with. However, I am going to try something new. I want a big cooperative role-playing experience. So what I have in mind, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, guys, but I have in mind that when we start role-playing, like, we'll focus on like 1 or 2 characters at first just to test this out. But essentially, if you want to roleplay a character, kind of decide on which character you want to roleplay at the start of the session. And then when you post, like when you answer a question, just put, like, we'll figure out an abbreviation for each character, like the couple of letters of their first name or their entire first name. Just put that character's name and then say what you do or what you say. And we'll look at everybody who's playing that character and we'll decide what the most appropriate or most fun response is. And we've got few enough people on the stream that should work, and it should be this big cooperative thing. And I really expect certain people among you to get drawn to this character or that character. It could be that maybe one of our characters isn't as popular, and maybe only 1 or 2 people want to play him or her. And then we know maybe, well, okay, we need to create a different character, right? Or maybe we need to drop 1 person out of the party. Because I think I've got 6 people right now. 6 characters. Yes. Cool, Chibi. So yeah, I didn't want to do something exclusionary. I wanted to try something new. I really want to see if this works. Because so far, we've been doing this kind of thing and creating the world, and it's been really fun. Like, people have just been tossing out ideas. We all look at the ideas, and me as the GM, I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. I think this. And people will say, oh yeah, that's cool. And then we put it in. So that's kind of the same thing. It's like more of a cooperative storytelling. I think it's going to be really fun. I really do. And yeah, if we have a character that's less popular. This also opens it up to even have maybe people play, like, once the NPCs get really established, like maybe there's a really important NPC that you guys really love, like, then maybe if I even let one or 2 of you play that character, you know, it could be fun. It could be fun. It's so freeform because it's just my brainchild right now. I don't know how it's going to work, but I really want to try it. Yeah, exactly, right? It could go terribly wrong, Mighty Jabberwock, but it could also be super cool. And it lets everybody who wants to roleplay. Even if you only toss in, even if you're listening from work, and you suddenly have an amazing idea in response to a question that I just asked, and you're like, oh, what about this? You know, and you only have time to do that one thing, but because you have multiple people who are kind of attached to different characters, it doesn't matter if you can only have time, like, here or there. Right? You're still going to progress, and you're still going to get to listen to the story, and you still get to participate. Sidwee, it's over on twitch.tv/paintingbig, and it's on Thursday specifically. And I may expand it. Right now, we're world building. So we're kind of, I'm going to be painting or doing art stuff that's related to the game, either painting the characters, or I thought I really need a banner for the world, so I thought we might work on that at some point. I have done 2D art in the past. I'm a little rusty at it, but I would like a nice banner for the world. So that means art, and that means somebody's got to do it. Either me or somebody else super talented at 2D art. So we'll do art, and then we're world building as we paint or draw. So that's what we're going to be doing. I may paint this week. I really do want to get a start on the bard. Bard with the telepathic familiar dog familiar. All right, so I've got some white mixed up. Let's block in this lower lip. Well, we're in the jungle, so it's not sand right now, Grim. You have an old World Anvil account? Yeah, then you can follow it. I'll pin it on my, if you're a patron, I'll pin it on my Discord. More and more, they're still very split. Like, I thought about just barring off most of my Discord and only leaving a few channels open and allowing Twitch subs to, to come in and, see the stuff on my Discord. Because right now my Discord is only patrons only. I'm trying to find a way that we can have a cooperative Discord for the game. I didn't at first want to create its own Discord for the game because it is time. It does take time when I have to read through channels and respond to stuff. And, and time is money for me because, freelance. But the more I look at it, the more my patrons really want the Patreon Discord to be for them, right? It's one of their perks. So I'm more and more leaning toward a separate Discord, although there will be still a D&D channel in the Patreon Discord because I still do give my Patreons some special perks. Like I will be definitely giving them some more leeway in helping me create things about the world and stuff than I am necessarily going to give to just random people stopping into the stream. So I don't know. And then I thought, well, I could just start a D&D game level on my Patreon also, where maybe it's like the Gazetteer thing that D&D used to do, where every month you get a short article about like an area or a race or or kind of an update on what's happening in town for the port, for our port abandoned settlement. That's our setting. I thought about doing that sort of thing. So it's all up in the air. I've been talking about my patrons about it. I'm going to kind of share all these ideas with them also and keep that conversation going. Because I do want to involve people on the stream. I do want to embrace the Twitch community that are not part of my Patreon. World Anvil's amazing, Red Links. And if you are into world creation, if you love to create worlds, it is addictive as all get out. So many tools, so many things. So many little brain, like you put in a religion and they're like, what's the history and mythology of this religion? Who are the gods? What are the churches like? What are the priesthood like? It gives you all these prompts for stuff to fill in. It's crazy awesome. So yeah, it's a World Anvil. Really neat. Really neat. But yeah. Yes, gold stars. Yeah, Shadow Raven actually gave me their gold star idea, and it's an awesome idea. It will be worked into the game. You get gold stars if I ask questions and stuff. When I'm looking for information, when we're cooperatively creating something, if you give me an answer that just is absolutely perfect, that just lights me up and goes, oh my god, that's absolutely wonderful, it's perfect, it's really brilliant, then I give people gold star. Right now, Rax has a gold star. Shadow Raven has just created their thing with their gold star. And one other person, I have it written down, has a gold star. I have my list of gold stars. So that way, people who come up with a really good idea get rewarded even more. But yeah, so it's fun. It's interesting. We've been developing this thing as we go along. And I'm very excited about it. But yeah, I think I'll probably put a sub goal on it because I do need to really make sure that I'm not just sinking time into something. So we glazed some Succubus Kiss. I put it down white first, guys. Then I kind of reshaped the lip a little bit. Now I'm glazing more Succubus Kiss over this. And when you use Succubus Kiss as a glaze, you get kind of that beautiful raspberry color, but you can build it up. I just heard something outside my window, and then I realized it must have been a squirrel, because I'm, like, on the second floor. And then we can come in with our pure white again, and we can add a couple of dots on the lip, like highlights. If those get a little bit big, let me get a little bit. They look big on the camera. They're not in person, but let me see if I can refocus. Yeah, they're a little bit much. I'm going to glaze over them. So Succubus Kiss is a really transparent, like dark violet. And its strength in being transparent is that you can glaze really easily with it. this will give me a darkish red lip without getting too jarring. So that gives me a little bit of a lip color. That's not too crazy. It's still dark. I can darken it further. And I probably want to. On the bottom of the lip here. And when I put that little highlight on the lip, I put it up against that upper lip for a reason. Because that, and part of the problem is probably that they went up onto the upper lip a little bit. So I'm going to grab some black and shrink those little highlights down a little bit by painting this upper lip. Making sure that I have a strong line on the line of the mouth and that I didn't get any of that white. This is where also, guys, if you want to suggest that she's smiling and stuff, you gotta pay attention to the corners of your mouth. It's possible to give a model a very stoic look or a very slight smirk. A slight smile or a slight smirk, depending on how the eye expression is. With her, I think I do want a little bit of a smile. So I'm going to essentially lift the corner of the mouth. You see what I just did? And then I'm going to emphasize that by bringing in that little pocket highlight that I talked about there on the corner of the mouth. And I'm going to bring it up against that little lip. So it's going to essentially paint plastic surgery the line of the mouth so that she has a smile. See? Very easy. Because most of the time, the corner of the mouth here isn't real well sculpted in a tiny miniature. So you can do this. You can absolutely suggest the upturn of the lip. And now she has that skeptical kind of like, huh, look on her face, right? Huh, who are you? So she has that look. And I like that look. All right, so that's good. Now I'm going to ask myself, though, if I want some color on that upper lip to go with my lower lip. And also I'm going to fill in my eyes at this point. I'm going to totally forestall the fact that David is going to take one look at this model and go, why did you not paint the eyes? We will paint the eyes. So remember, we want to leave a nice heavy black rim around the eyes. These are huge eyes. They're going to be super fun to paint. These are the size of eyes we'd normally get on probably a 72mm figure. And if we get a little bit too big, I can always come back with my black, so don't worry. Just try to keep a black rim around the eyes because it's so much easier to just fill in this area with white than it is to go back and paint a black line around. That's why I fill in the eye first. Then I bring in the white because it's very easy. You can see that dark rim. It's much easier to keep that dark rim. Soltor, these are really high quality brushes. So that's why, yeah, it's exactly her face, right? Kuz is, you think you know things, huh, mortal? That's cute. I really like her so far. So, I like her character. Soltor, I've got, these are Kolinsky sables, and what that means is they're really high grade of red sable. Kolinsky is grade 1 and grade 2, and I believe red sable has like 10 or 15 grades. So, the best red sable are very firm like this. They call it snap. And it's essentially, it's how the brush snaps back or whether it's kind of mushy. And if you use a red sable that's not very good, what you're going to notice is it's mushy, right? It just kind of like collapses, right? But this brush springs back. And because it's so firm, that's what makes it so expensive. This is like the way you make a grade 1 or grade 2, and this is a grade 1 Kolinsky sable, is that you pick only hairs from the tail of the male Kolinsky weasel in winter. That's it. Russian weasel butt fur, as we call it, plucked in winter. So that's a grade 1 sable hair. And that grade 1 is because of all those factors, because it's from the tail, because it's from the male, and because it's in the winter, that gives you this strength and spring and resilience. And that's what makes a grade 1 sable brush. So that's why you are going to be paying a lot more for these, because it's like one small area of the animal, and it's, by the way, just for those who are animal rights activists, I totally get you because I also am one. The Kolinsky weasel is a nuisance animal. They are little murdering evil things in Russia, and there are a ton of them. So don't feel too guilty. They really like the USDA actually went in, and there was a shortage of Kolinsky sable brushes a while ago because the USDA was like, oh, endangered species, blah blah blah, and Russia was like, here is our documentation. These things are a problem. We need to kill them. So yeah. Oh no, it is like Saltor. Because okay, so figure Saltor, when you buy a just a Taklon brush, right? Like one of the yellow Taklons. This is a flat, but it's the only Taklon I've got for a reason. So when you use these suckers, maybe it's a $5 brush. Maybe it's only a $2 brush. But almost instantaneously, you're going to see the fuzzing, the breakdown of that tip. See how it's fuzzy? That's going to stop being able to hit fine details because you're losing the tip. And as you continue to paint with that, you're going to see a curve in the tip of your brush, right? Also, because it's plastic, and now this is changing because new technology, they're trying to essentially make Taklon hairs now that imitate natural sable hairs. But right now, with the cheap brushes, you just don't get the offload. Like, it doesn't hold fluid in the same way, and it doesn't unload fluid in the same way. So, and there's no way it's going to hold this tip. Like, look at it. No way. Even if I had a small one out here, it'd be the same thing. So, and it's stiffer, so it's a little bit different. Like, it has total spring back because it's plastic bristle. So you don't get some of the give. You do need a little bit of give to draw a beautiful straight line. You know, there are qualities that you need for that. And then this is also going to die on you a lot faster. Like, it'll get to the point where it's really only usable for dry brushing and base coating within, at most, maybe 1 to 2 months, depending on how much you paint. Yeah, exactly. So this is $2 to $5, depending on how crappy you get it. Maybe $2 to $6. And one of these is about $15. If you go to dickblick.com, dickblick.com, that's a huge online art retailer, but they have the best prices on Kolinsky sables in general. And so you're going to pay $15 for this, and it's going to last you years. Literally years. As long as you don't leave it nose down in your paint water, which you should never do for any brush. It's going to essentially hasten the demise of any brush you use. And as long as you don't let paint dry in it, you rinse your brush fairly often. I don't even use brush soap on mine. I mean, this one I've been using for months, probably since I got here to California about a little more than 6 months ago. And it's brilliant. It's perfect. If anything, these improve with time. Dick Blick, Dickblick. It's a very old art store online. It used to be brick and mortar stores, and then they transitioned online. They were one of the first big online art retailers. You can also just search with the brush brand that you want. Some of the great ones are Winsor & Newton Series 7, and this is a Raphael Series 8408. If you're on my Patreon, I do have a brush PDF on there from early on. Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig. And I think it's it might be even a free, or it's a $2 PDF maybe. It's really cheap. So I kind of go over some of the brands that I like, which is Raphael, Winsor & Newton, and Da Vinci. So it's like, and the series is the shape of the brush, and the size is the size of the brush. So to give you an idea, here, let me show you. Real quick. I know I've covered this in the past. We're going to cover it again really quick for new people, because I get a lot of new people. All right, so these are both size 1s. You can see the size 1 in the Da Vinci and the size 1 in the Raphael. They are very different, and that's because they're different series from different companies. When you're dealing with Raphael, this is the 8408 is their very full-bodied but sharp-tipped brush. And so it's just a bigger brush in general. It's wider. It holds more fluid back here in the body, at the belly, as they call it. It's got a very fine tapering tip, which I use thinner paint, so that's perfect for me. The Da Vinci is an old one, has been around for at least a couple years, I think. It's starting to get to the point where I might have to kill it soon. But this is also a size 1. It's the Da Vinci. The Maestro is their Kolinsky line. The series is 10, and 10 is their standard round. Usually that's what you're looking for, is a standard round for mini painting. So when you look at the series, that's usually on Dick Blick and other art sites, they'll say series 10, and then they'll give you a descriptor. They'll go liner, or spotter, or round, that kind of thing. So if you've got the round, that's what you really want. for miniature painting in most cases. Unless, as was brought up earlier, you're painting really big models, then getting a cheapo Taklon flat is a good idea, which is why I have this so close. But these brushes are worth their weight in gold if you take care of a brush. Like if you think after a month or two, you're like, yeah, I don't leave my brushes sitting in the water. I try to take good care of them. I rinse them well, then you probably should, try a good brush, because I'll tell you flat out that buying one of these will level you up instantly, because you will finally be able to put paint exactly where you want it. Gives you, stick flick. Yep. There you go. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Hi, Candolo. Or Candolo. But yeah, so yeah, there we go. So thanks for the link on the tools. If you look in the chat there, Sultor, and other new people, it's got a link to the palette that I use, the Well palette, which is on Cheap Joe's, and it's really inexpensive. And then it's got the various brushes, but I think the one up there is the Da Vinci Maestro. But mostly these days, I'm either a Da Vinci fangirl, like I've been for the last 20 years, or I love my Raphael, which is the one I've been using more recently. So these two brushes are my go-tos. These two companies are my go-tos. They're both grade 1 Kolinsky's, so they're the best Kolinsky money can buy. All right. Actually, I talked about that yesterday because I had to snip one off, Clover. Like, if you get a hair that wants to come out the tip, the best thing you can do is kind of like try to grab it and pull it. Like, I've got a little one right here. If you really can't separate it, like sometimes when they're leading, they've come loose down here already, and you can sometimes pull them out nicely. Let's see, did that happen? I think I've got a tiny bit. Sometimes they can be very hard to see even with my reading glasses. I'll put a little water in the brush, kind of look. No, I guess it's all right. If you get a hair that comes off the side, what you do, and I actually showed this yesterday because I got one. If those pellets are on sale for $5, grab them. But if you get a hair that comes off, just kind of grab it with your knife, like kind of tease it apart from the main body of the brush, and gently follow it down to the bottom, and then nick it off against the ferrule, just like that. Here, I've got a hair that's kind of leaning that way. Let me grab it. So first I'll make sure you can see it. See that little hair sticking off? So when you see that, when the brush is wet, and if the hair doesn't want to go back nicely into the brush, you kind of get it with your knife. You kind of follow it down. You want to isolate it and pull it out from its brethren. And it's 2 hairs right now. And then you want to snick it off right up against this metal piece. I don't think that's actually an errant hair, so I'm going to just leave it. But that's how you do it. And you do that so that you don't pull out something that's stuck in the ferrule here, because then you're going to disrupt the entire shape of the brush. Sure. Hey, Bryce, I'm all about the great tips, All right, so let's fill in the other eyeball here, at least with white, and then David will complain that my Sphinx has zombie eyes. He hates it that I paint the eyes last. But anyway, so we're gonna go and block in this, and the reason I'm blocking it in white is that I want her eyes to be bright green, and so I want to base with white, because if painting a bright green over a white is going to make the green brighter. If you paint it over black, it's going to be very hard to get a very vibrant color. And we want these eyes to really stand out. Because that's the whole point of Egyptian eye makeup, right? Is all this black coal-lined eye thing is to make your eyeballs stand out and look awesome. So. Oh, have fun, Shadow Raven. But yeah, we are all about information on Reaper Pro Tips. This is why it's Pro Tips. Our name is a good judge of what we do. So, all right. So the inside of her eye is sculpted a little bit wonky there, and I managed to run up against it. So I'm going to come back with my black and probably take off that inner part. I could leave it, except I don't know that it's the same on both sides. I guess I could try to. Here, let me see if I can fix it with white. I don't necessarily want the eye to go that far in, but at the same time, I can always suggest, there we go. So that wasn't too bad. I can paint over it and make the eye more oblong. But there probably is a little bit of a reddish membrane at the inner circle of the eye, inner corner, sorry, of the eye. So now we need to look at our eyes after we've blocked them both in nice and solid with a couple coats of white. And see if they are the same size roughly. If one is slightly bigger, you can take your dark line around there and shrink the eye a little, but her eyes look pretty good here. They look pretty much exactly the same size and shape, so that's perfect. Sometimes you get a sculpt that's a little bit off in that way, and you have to do a little paint plastic surgery. All right, we are coming along. So what do we got? Yeah, we need to go about 10 minutes over to make up for starting a little late, so I am going to grab some green. Hope that my little dog stays happy, because we haven't had an interruption, and if one happens at this point, I have to call the stream. Let's see here. So Naga green's a really good green for this, as is, obviously, Cat's Eye. Wait, she has cat's eyes. We should probably do that. So let's use these two, because we can use this to highlight this. And then we can use our lemon yellow that I was just talking about, because I like to repeat colors on a model. And we can mix a little bit of lemon into the cat's eye and go up from there. So we'll start with Naga. I don't know if I want darker shadow in the eye. Usually you want to put a nice dark rim around the eye to make it show up a little bit better. Let me see. I might even want to go with a dark blue for that. All right. Might even go with a really dark blue and kind of mix a little bit. This is ultramarine shadow. It's one of the most beautiful colors we make. A lot of people don't use it very much. This is a shame. It is a gorgeous violet blue. I think she's looking pretty good. All right, so first we're going to do Naga. I'm going to see if I really want... I might not need a dark rim around the eye. Naga is a nice medium bright green. It'll make a very good cat's eye color, base color. Really want to shake it up really well because it has blue and blue, yellow, and green pigments in it, and they like to separate out because phthalocyanine do that. They be that way. And I'll get myself a little bit of cat's eye mixed up. Because, darn it, we're painting cat eyes. Let's paint some cat's eye green. Cat's eye is lighter, just to give you an idea. It actually does make a pretty good straight up highlight for Naga. It is a little bit more ochre-y. So those are those two colors. And then we have the room. So we're going to want to also grab a little bit of cat's eye and mix it with lemon yellow to get an even brighter highlight. 9009 lemon yellow. And lemon yellow is a bit of a greenish yellow, so it works really well for this purpose, except when it clogs, which is what it's wanting to do right now. Which is when we produce our Reaper Pokey tool and we puncture. There we go. Boop. Alrighty, let's mix these up. Get down to it. I think I will put just a little bit of ultramarine shadow on my palette just in case I decide I want that dark rim. Which is a beautiful, beautiful, let me see if I can thin this and show you guys how beautiful this color is. See that? See how beautiful and vibrant that blue is? Oh my gosh, it's the prettiest blue. It's so pretty. Anyway, so that's a 9187 ultramarine shadow. It's gorgeous. If I need a dark rim around the eyes, we'll go there. All right. I'm only going to thin the paint a little bit here because I don't want it to go really transparent. I want it to make a nice smooth base coat over the white of the eye. I wanted a little bit of transparency so it'll look good and vibrant. Naga is one of those colors where if you put it over a dark base coat, it loses a lot of its life. Just mixing in some water, 1 drop of water, and mixing these colors up. If you wondered what color the lemon yellow, 2 drops of lemon yellow and 2 drops of cat's eye make, we've got a very nice triad progression here. So there's our cat's eye. There's our cat's eye plus lemon. There's our Naga. And if we were to mix Naga with a little bit of our ultramarine, we'll get a kind of a dark green teal color, depending on how much blue I pop into it. We can like kind of use that to spot mix a dark rim around her eyes if we want it. But she does have the black eye makeup. She may not need the dark rim around her. And because she's a cat, her iris is pretty much going to take up her whole eye. I may go in and make a dark rim around this and leave a little bit of white showing, like inner corner and outer corner, but I haven't yet decided that. So right now I'm just going to fill in the entire eye with the green. When you're dealing with monsters and you're looking at how to paint their eyes, if you do it this way, where you fill in most of the eye with the iris, it's gonna look more like a monster or a beast and less like a human. I could also paint her with eyes like a human. And, you know, I have so far painted her rather humanish. So I may decide to do that. So let's paint one eye that way. Let's paint this eye more human. I'm going to use my my blue and green mix here to kind of give her an outline under her eye. I'm not going to go too... The larger the iris, too, the more unnatural and unhuman it looks. So let's do something like this. Graniko, I'm costing you money every time I bring up a paint that you don't have yet. So let's get in and do a little bit of whites of the eye around this. We're kind of going backwards this way. I think I'm going to just redraw it. Hold on. And keep in mind that I use really thin paint, and because I use really thin paint, and by really thin I mean that every paint mix I use is probably 3 drops of paint and 1 drop of water, which is quite thin. But because I'm using thin paint, I could repaint these eyes probably 4 or 5 times before I start noticing loss of detail. Oh, always Reaper Master Series Soltor. Since, okay, so I work for Reaper. I worked for Reaper for 17 years now. I was full-time up until I moved out here to be with my guy. So now I'm part-time. But I worked for Reaper for 17 years, and 15 years of those were creating Reaper's Master Series paint line. So MSP from Reaper is my baby. Like, I mixed every batch. I created every color up until about a year ago. Yes. So now on my own stream over on twitch.tv/paintingbig, I sometimes use other stuff. The Scale 75 tube paint is my current thing I'm experimenting with. Because I do like to keep my hand in the industry and kind of know what's going on there. So, all right, let's do this. Let's do it this way, guys. Let's do this blue and block in an iris. The more round you make your iris, the less sleepy the eye will look. And the more kind of oval you make your iris, the more of it intersects that upper eyelid, the more, the more sleepy, like the more closed the eye will look. The more you have the iris kind of come in at the top, so it makes it look nice and round, the more awake and alert the character is going to look. You can choose to either leave a little bit of white or to have your iris intersect with your lower lid. And some people's eyes, everybody's eyes are different. Like my eyes, I definitely have white, a bit of white showing. I have smaller irises, but there are people with larger irises or more narrow eyes where they naturally, their iris will touch their lower lid. Like they won't have any white space. So that'll kind of help you define like a character. It can be either way. But the upper part of the eye is the most important for expression, because the more of a round shape and less of an oval you show, the more it looks like the character has her eyes open, wide, as opposed to half-lidded. So if you want a sleepy looking character, do more of the half circle kind of iris to make it look like the eye is slightly closed. And the more alert you want it to be, do more of an actual circle where there's less of it intersecting the top lid. And I'm just kind of trimming this up a little bit. There. That's good. Yeah. A lot of why I talk Saltora, I talk a lot of paint chemistry on here. Actually, it kind of explained it a lot of why the paint works the way it does. And that's why, because I'm in a position to know. I'm probably one of the only miniature painter streamers on the web who I don't know anybody else who has created their own paint line unless Wapple's done it. He seems to be using kind of a custom paint line for oils, but I don't know. He has his own thing going on, so I'm not sure what that is. But all right, so then we're going to fill that in. Remember how I said it's much easier to fill in with white and leave a dark rim than it is to try to paint that little tiny dark circle? Well, there you go, guys. So I just did the whole iris, and then I went in with the white again. Now we'll take our green. Now, one thing you will also notice is that as we make this eye more human, you also lose a bit of the capability to show the color, right? This is going to be a green eye no matter what we do. Like, I'm going to give her a big ol', cat pupil or a regular big cat pupil rounded, and we're going to have a lot of green there to show the eye color. The smaller the eye gets, the harder it is to show eye color, which is why I tend to tell people when you're working at 28 millimeter with normal humans, trying to do colored eyes is a lost cause. It wouldn't realistically show up if that person was standing that far away from you to be that size. We'd just see a shadow. That's it. So this is a big enough model that we can still suggest the color, but if we do her eye like a human, we'll have less room to suggest that color. Whereas if we do it like a monster, then we have more room. So actually, I'm going to come in. I want to come in and just kind of suggest a little bit of white at the corners of her eyes. Give her a little bit of white, which often happens with animals, especially if they're widening their eyes, depending on the animal. So just a little bit there to frame her. We'll see if I keep it. I'm experimenting to see what kind of look I want for her. Oh, good, Saltor. Yeah. Yeah, I also went to school for art. Originally 2D art. But I actually learned more from miniature painting than I ever learned from art school. But I went to kind of a crappy art school. All right, so see, you could do very large, and now we'll do this the hard way because, I put myself in that position here. We'll grab some of this. Actually, I'm going to switch to my smaller brush for this one, just because. Switch to my Da Vinci. And get some of this ultramarine blue, and put a very slight outline between the white and the green. And putting this dark rim, not only do many of us have these dark rims around our eyes naturally, but putting a dark rim between the white and the color of the iris naturally just makes the eye and the expression stand out more. Oh, yeah. Yeah, inks are cool these days, though. I mean, the line between paint and ink is becoming more and more blurred, since textile companies are using pretty much acrylic. It's kind of the same thing as acrylics now. They've just chemically altered it so that it clings to fabric like a natural, like an old school ink would. Like there's a lot of crossover right now between the textile and art products, and they steal from each other regularly too. Like, essentially, the Daler Rowney acrylic inks are directly stolen from the textile industry. Alright, so we've got a big monstrous eye. And a little humanish eye. And I'm going to keep working with it to see which I like better. I want this one, I needed it to be a little bit more toward the center, though. Alright, now... pupils. Let's see here. So we're obviously going to have more room for our pupil over here, and thus we're going to have more room for our green color. I do think I put too much white toward the interior of this eye, though, so I'm going to actually fix that. And weirdly, I'm going to fix it by putting more white in there, because I need to redraw that line. or just put more green. Put more white, then put more green. And again, using thin paint, I can do this. I can go over this area and repaint it lots of times, and it will not matter. Maybe I'll just leave that little bit of white toward the outside of the eye instead. I think I might like that better. I got a little bit of green blurfed over my black line there, so I'm going to fix it. Not on this side. This side is the cheaty one. You do the iris, then you put white on the inside of it, and you leave a little tiny black line, and then you put the color right over the white, and it's super easy. This side, though, I did actually paint the line around the iris, and then I decided I didn't want it, so now I'm going to fix it. But yeah, when you have been painting for as long as I have, your brush control is pretty good. There. Now I've got my eye all tuned up again. So we've got very much a kind of a gemstone eye almost here going on. Very inhuman, very different. This is more, you know, your standard eye. It does look a bit bright, and the reason is that I used pure white for it. This is where I say, why I say that with the very large eyes, you should actually not use pure white. You should always use an off-white, because a pure white is going to look way cartoony, and you can see that on this eye, right? So if I really want to, the thing to do is actually to mix kind of an off brown gray and redo the iris in that color, like an off-white that's kind of brownish gray. It's going to look like white because her skin's so dark. But like a color like Weathered Stone or this color that I mixed here, that was just taking the ebony skin and adding a lot of white to it. That's a color I would usually use. I'm going to kind of dab it in just so we can take down that eye, because I hate how unnatural it looks right now. Hey, Balrog, it's been a while since I've seen you. Yeah, I prefer the gem eye, I think, but I'm showing people how to do both because this is an instructional stream. I will then decide which one I prefer. I will make them fight for my love. So now I'm going to paint over this white with just a little bit of this more muted color. Because brush control. And that's going to make that eye look a lot less cartoon now. Now I do have to come back in with my rim around it, because just like with the other side, I kind of messed that up. And we're about quarter after, so we should call it soon. I'm going to actually get a little bit more thin. When you load your brush, the next most important step is unloading your brush. Never dip your brush in the paint and directly apply it. Always wipe your brush off on the side of the palette to unload it so that you can get the best tip and the most control. There. A little bit more line around that eye. Got a nice heavy line around that eye. All right. Thank you, Balrog. Yeah, we're just trying to decide which eye we like, but I'm kind of like, I like the gemstone eye personally, the one that's reading more unnatural and monstrous. I like monstrous monsters. But we'll probably have to finish the eye tomorrow because we're running out of time. But you guys got an awful lot of info today on faces in general. So I think you probably got enough to absorb for later, and we can come back to this tomorrow and get the eyes, decide which eye we want, kind of finish them both, and then repaint whatever one. You know, I am really leaning toward the gemstone eye, but at least I'll show you guys how it's very hard to still keep some suggestion of color once I put this pupil in here. So yeah, so today we worked on Sphinxy, and she's got odd eyes because we're trying to decide. But otherwise, I think she's really coming along really well. I'm very happy with her. And then we'll carry down, we'll continue, we'll remix our skin colors tomorrow. We'll finish her eyes, and we'll continue highlighting her skin. We'll bring that golden tone in there, that honey color. And then we'll essentially blend that honey color. That might become our lion fur color, is what that might be. It's we need to go with a color for lion fur that's different from what our NMM gold will be, because there'll be a lot of gold here in addition to a lot of color. So I've got to think about contrast. So I want to make sure that that my color for my fur isn't too close to the gold that we're going to be doing. Otherwise, it won't look right. So yeah, super. I think she's turning out really well. I'm really happy with her so far. I hope you guys are enjoying this Sphinxy stream. And yeah, we'll work on her for a while. Work on her while I feel like I'm having fun and she's working, and then maybe we'll take a break and work on some characters and so on. So, Justin, do we have a raid?
Yes, let's see here. Ooh, I believe we have a Zambies.
We have a Zambies? A wild Zambies? Well then, we should absolutely go and raid a wild Zambies. Guys, I want you to have a great day. Remember, I am streaming on my own channel, twitch.tv/paintingbig, later today. Just hanging around, probably working on some black cloth and black leather. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys very much. Keep being awesome. And don't forget, there's no Crow's Nest today. Proctor had some busy work stuff he had to get done. So I will see you guys tomorrow for more RTB Pro tips. Thank you guys.